Please like, subscribe, and be sure to click that bell button for regular and exciting indie film content and your chance to be the first to engage with the Liftoff Global Network of Film Festivals as we embark on launching the careers of the filmmakers of tomorrow.
Why don't you just put yours there?
Hello everyone, welcome to today's stream. Today we are joined by wonderful filmmaker Gary Katz and Gary Katz and James Lee Stanley, who are part of the London Liftoff Film Festival that took place in December. Welcome guys, welcome so much.
Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us so early over in Los Angeles as well. You said it was like 4:30, I think, in the morning. Is that
Well,
right?
it's going on 5 now.
It's now 5
It's
o'clock.
5 o'clock now?
But
Okay. Well,
we're musicians. We always get up at 5 a.m.
Sure.
The commitment
it.
level is amazing, because I think if I found out the times when I first got that email, I would have been like, please do this later in the day. So thank you so much for joining us here.
Would you have?
Pardon?
Would you have gone a little later in the day?
I think so. I think I would have asked, but maybe that's just me being precious. Who knows? Well, again, thank you so much for joining us. The chat room is open, so for anyone who is watching this stream live, please feel free to ask our filmmakers and musicians any questions that you may have, and we will do our best to share those comments as the stream goes on. But I think, without further ado, I think we should get your film playing in the background. So the opening act is your project. So I'll get that programmed here. But in the meantime, if you would like to both introduce yourselves, what your role was within the film, and then the inspiration behind it. I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Take it,
Over
Gary.
to you guys.
Alrighty. Well, I'm Gary Katz, Gary J. Katz, and I was the director of the film. And James Lee Stanley was the subject of the film.
Yeah, he was the driving wheel, this guy.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I'm
go
James
for it.
Lee Stanley, and I've been making. Well, actually, I started recording when I was, I think, 15 or 16. So I've been doing this my entire life. I never expected to do anything else except make music. Although I did expect to be filthy rich. So.
I think as a creative, when you first hear about the film industry or the music industry, there is a notion of like, I will make it, I will get rich from what I'm doing. But a lot of the time that isn't the case, and it becomes the passion that leads you through your careers within the industry. So I'm interested in hearing how this project got off the ground. And in the opening title, you mentioned that this was a project that took place during the pandemic. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, we actually started it a few months before and got some interviews done, and then the pandemic hit. And we were lucky that a lot of the people that we did want to interview after that just did their own interviews for us. We kind of laid out.
Fortunately, these people
questions.
that they actually are, serious friends of mine. So when we called and said, look, we, because of the pandemic, we can't bring a crew out to your house. They all said, we'll do it, we'll make it happen. And they did, It was great.
Fantastic.
Stephen Wright did his. Do you know Stephen, the comedian?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, he did some of his on the beach, and they were just great. Everybody was great. I was thrilled to know that that people that I had so much respect for had an equivalent respect. It was gratifying and humbling.
That was going to be one of the questions I was going to bring up later is, the interviewees here, I think John Densmore came on the screen because I quite like The Doors, and I was sort of like, oh, wow, but John Densmore's here. I guess was that's kind of a handy thing, James. Were you able to sort of, connect lots of the interviewees together with Gary to sort of...
Exactly.
Yeah, lovely.
I put Gary together with everybody that I knew, Timothy Schmidt from the Eagles.
Yeah.
John Densmore from The Doors, Stephen Wright, the comedian. I just would call them and say, look, Gary's going to come by with a crew and film your interview. If everybody said yes, except Bonnie Raitt.
Except Bonnie Wright.
Yeah, she said, James, it takes me 5 hours to get ready for an interview. I got to do my hair, I got to do my makeup. And she said, so I just don't do them anymore. I said, okay, no problem.
But
But,
that was,
you know,
yeah.
but that was amazing that you managed to get everyone else that you wanted involved in the project, especially during these tough times.
Yeah, totally.
yeah. I was sorry that Peter Tork passed away, because Peter Tork was in the Monkees, for those of you who are too young to remember that. But Peter was my lifelong friend, and I really wanted him to be part of this, but the big C gobbled him up.
Yeah. I think it's quite early that you talk about your working relationship together. Obviously, yeah, that was kind of quite near the start of your career, I guess, is when you first met Peter and stuff. So, yeah, obviously, yeah, it would have been nice to have had him on there too, for sure. But yeah.
Yeah. You know what happened? I'm a big fan of Steely Dan.
Yeah.
The producer of Steely Dan is a man named Gary Katz. So Gary is a musician and has a band, and actually we play together at least once a week. We get together and play. But in any event, I saw that Gary was playing, and so I went down there. I guess I emailed him and I said, "Are you the Gary Katz that produces my favorite band?" And he said, "No, I'm Gary J. Katz, but I do have a band, and I'm playing at the whatever that place was. He playing somewhere." And I said, "Okay, I'll come down." So I came down and met him, but it was just because of his name is Steely Dan that we connected.
That's
and
so
then we
funny.
discovered that we had a whole lot in common, and he's a good player, and we ended up. I mean, I sat in with the band, and we get together every week and play music, and now we put together like a little show, so we're,
But I gotta say, I do get that a lot. I do get confused for the other Gary Katz that did Steely Dan, and occasionally I am him because it gets me a better seat in a restaurant.
Brilliant.
Something nice comes along. So.
Yeah. So he called me about a couple weeks later, and he said, "You know what, James? I went online and Googled you, and I think there's a story there, and I'd like to do a documentary on it." And I said, "Well, I mean, if you think someone cares, I'm happy to to be part of it, And that was the nascency of the thing. It was all his idea. He was the guy.
Amazing. I guess now's a good time to throw that question out there, which I asked you before the stream to have a little think about, and that was at what moment did you realize that this was the industry that you wanted to work for, whether that was as a filmmaker or as a musician? Was there any particular light bulb moment that guided you into this industry?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Well, I started playing when I was about 8 years old. So the music side, as soon as I saw the Beatles on TV, I think every kid in America wanted to play a guitar. And so I started back then. I actually won $9.80 from a radio station. And I took that to the music store where I lived, and they brought out a guitar from the bag and said, "You could have this one for your $9.80.
Must have been a great guitar.
Yeah, it was really wonderful, but it did get me started. And then I went into the family business. I'm a third generation horologist or clockmaker, and I did that for many years. And we actually had a string of clock shops in various malls throughout Southern California. And I got into video because we wanted something in front of the stores kind of showing. We had our own manufacturing plant back then too. And so we wanted something showing how our clocks were made. And that got me into video. I shot it and then found a place where I could rent a little edit bay. It was only a cuts only edit bay, but that got me going. And eventually I left the business and opened up the American Institute of Video back in the 80s. And so that's where I kind of really learned how to do editing, because we had to have, at that time, we had to have the best equipment in there to teach on. And so that got me into it, and did that for many years before my wife and I decided to move up to the Sierras. And we moved up there, kind of get away from the city, and that's where I guess my creative juices started burning again, because I had an idea for a book, and basically a story of, it's called Death by Rock and Roll. The Untimely Death of the Legends of Rock.
He's a cheerful guy.
Yeah.
And I just sent out a few of the stories to about 10 different publishers and got picked up by one. And the next thing I knew, I was writing a book. And that brought me back into video because one of the stories in the book was so compelling that I thought, I need to do a documentary on that. And so my first documentary was called Badfinger, a British band. The first band signed to Apple Records.
Right.
So that was a fun experience. I had to deal with Apple Records for about 2 years, Neil Aspinall. And that's like in Disneyland, we have a ride called Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. And that's basically what it was, dealing with them. But I did get it through, and I think I was the first independent producer to get through Apple Records and actually produce something on one of their bands.
Amazing.
And
Yeah, it's a really good documentary. You might check it out if you.
Yeah, definitely.
about it.
Absolutely.
I'd love to.
But and then I actually during that process I needed to license some footage, and one of the studios that I licensed from was Studio Hamburg, and I got my license from then. I had the U.S. market covered, and then I got a deal for Japan, so I had to renegotiate everything with everyone so I could get the Japan deal done. And I found that the agent that I was dealing with at Studio Hamburg had left the company. So I talked to a good friend of mine who was looking to get into some type of production with me. He wanted to do a documentary as well. I think he wanted to do it on Buddy Holly. So we were looking into that when this came about. And just happened to call Studio Hamburg to see what was going on there, and it was after hours, and I actually got the manager, the head of the studio, and told him what, we'd like to become the American agents. And he said, well, come on over and we'll discuss it, and we did, and became the American agents for Studio Hamburg.
Sorry to interrupt you there. I've just got Mo try and
Yeah,
get
we
in,
heard
so
the-
we're
we
going to
heard
let
the
them
bell.
in.
Yeah.
And here they are. But we'll come back to that in a second because the documentary side of it is really interesting. Hi, Mo.
Hi everyone. Hi.
Hello, Mo.
Mo Rebick here. Hi.
The late Mo.
Hi.
I'm a bit late. I apologise. Hi.
No worries.
Okay.
Thank you so much. So what we're doing at the moment is we're just getting to know a little bit more about the opening act, the other film that is joining us here today. So what we'll do is we'll continue with the opening act, and then Mo will jump over to you and we'll get to know a little bit more about your project, Download My Heart, in London, if that's okay. So feel free
with
to
pleasure.
Feel free to join in the conversation, but if you could mute your microphone in the meantime, that would be amazing.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Perfect. So, sorry, there we go.
Not a problem.
If you want to continue, so documentary filmmaking.
Right.
I think,
Well,
you remember where you were?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So we actually went to work for Studio Hamburg. We became the American agents, and then had access. It was like the fox in the hen house. We had access to all these different performances by just hundreds of different artists that went through and performed on Beat Club and Music Latin and
Yeah, Stephen Stills and Manassas and Blondie, everybody.
Wow.
So we put out a lot, and then ended up doing another documentary on Steve Marriott, Small Faces, and then later Humble Pie. And that probably brings us up to probably around the 90s or so, and then did something with Eric Burton, another documentary, and then this came about. So
Amazing.
that's pretty much how I got into it.
Yeah.
That is definitely an interesting route into the documentary filmmaking. It is fun when we hear stories about how a different track that you were on then throws you into another world. So going from the videos that you were
Right,
making to then
exactly.
teaching it to then making documentaries. I was also wondering, you mentioned quite a few documentaries there. Are they available to the public? Or what happened to those documentaries? Are they still circulating as we speak?
Badfinger's actually out of print now. I had a 5-year licensing deal with Apple, and that was over quite a while ago. You can find them on the used market, I guess. Badfinger goes for quite a bit. I was surprised to see when I actually looked it up. Steve Marriott, we actually, well, that's out of print, our version of it, but we actually did sell the rights back to the Steve Marriott estate, and then it's actually out now through them. Little different production.
What about Humble Pie?
That's the Humble Pie.
Oh, I see.
The Steve Marriott Humble Pie.
So
one.
both of them.
Right.
Okay.
And then the Eric Burton and the New Animals live at the Coach House. That was a live concert that we did. But in between, we did go out. That was in San Clemente, so it was really close to the beach. And we went out to the beach, and we just had Eric talk about all his hits and how they came about. So that's cut in between,
Amazing.
you know, within the concert. And
He's a good guy. I did some shows with Eric. He's really he's a delight, you know.
Amazing.
so
Sorry,
Yeah.
and then finally the opening act. Where is it living at the moment? Is it still doing the festival circuit, or is there a distributor attached?
no, we're still doing the circuit.
The festival
and-
circuit, yeah.
And now we're going to kind of focus and work on getting a distributor or streamer or.
Yeah, I think there's
whatever we can.
definitely a huge market for it. I mean, if you still have contacts with Apple TV are often looking for new content for their VOD platforms as well. So maybe there's a route that you can connect it all back together and see if
Right.
there
Yes.
is a way that they could at least get
We're
a
leaving
meeting
no
going.
avenue unturned.
Perfect. That is the best
Unexplored.
answer.
Yeah.
Music
Yeah.
documentaries are always fun to watch, and you know this one particularly, it couldn't have come at a better time for me. Is the thing. My dad has he's quite into his folk music, and he's been getting me into sort of lots of the acts that he likes, some of which you mentioned or have performed with James in the documentary: David Crosby, Al Stewart, Stephen Stills. So this is right up me and my dad's alley. So we're definitely going home to watch it again. Like there's no way
good.
I'm not gonna make my dad watch it. Is the thing. So obviously, best of luck with hopefully getting it distributed. I think sort of people like to hear about new stories and musicians that they might not necessarily have sort of seen or heard before. I think that's kind of where, yeah.
Well, the thing is, there are so many really, really wonderful musicians and composers and filmmakers. I mean, there's so many people competing for the spotlight, you know. That it's easy to miss the gold, particularly if someone has a whole lot of funding, they can
Yes.
get the attention, whether in fact they have earned it or not, you know. So we know the battle we're fighting. But to tell you the truth, I started in music when I was 14, and I had a recording contract by 16, and I've made 35 albums, and I've toured with. I don't think you can name one person from the 60s or 70s that I didn't tour with. And I did it at a time when I had no agent. I mean, I left my record company. I was signed to RCA Wood Nickel. I left there in 1974, and I was on my own ever since. Started my own label, and I've toured with everybody. I did everything without an agent, without a manager, without a record label. And I became, wealthy and comfortable just by never giving up, and also never folding. Like some of the record labels I would talk to would say, well, if you record this song, it'll be a hit, and then you can do whatever you want. And I said, no, that song is nothing like what I do. If I do that song, I'll be a one-hit wonder, because they'll get a record, it'll be my stuff will be nothing like the hit song, and they'll go, this album sucks. Because because the people that buy it were drawn to the one song that has nothing to do with me. So I've always recommended that you follow your artistic, you follow your heart. It's much more rewarding, and in the end, it ends up being lucrative anyhow. If
Couldn't
that
agree more.
matters.
Couldn't
Yeah.
agree more.
Passion always wins in the end.
So far, although I wish I had done it with hair, but
So you're still on the festival circuit. Do you have any screenings coming up?
No, I think we're in. Well, we submitted to another 5 film festivals, and they haven't come up yet. So we're just kind of biding our time as they.
We're waiting for the word, you know.
Well, fingers
So,
crossed.
and in the meantime, I know some very powerful attorneys in Los Angeles, and so we've been talking to them about giving us a leg up and getting it into the streaming thing and getting in. It would be easier to get into the streaming thing or to the distribution thing if we have some more activity from the festivals. So that's what we're focusing on presently.
Yeah, that is good advice, and that is true. The more buzz that you have going around your film, the more screenings you can attend to and meet people within the industry.
We had a nice screening up here and a big crowd to see it in Tehachapi, but you know.
Yeah, amazing. Fantastic. So apart from getting this project into VOD streamers and distributors, what is next for you both? Are you working on anything else as we speak?
I just finished a new album. You saw that, Hugh, you mentioned liking the Doors. I did an album with John Densmore and Robbie Krieger. Actually, I took a bunch of Doors songs and I did them like Crosby, Stills and Nash. And it was John's idea, and then John and Robbie both played on it. And it was actually the 3rd record in the series. And I just released a couple of weeks ago, All Wood and Lead, where I took all these Led Zeppelin songs and just imagined if Led Zeppelin grew up in Laurel Canyon instead of England. And
I'll definitely do some digging on that. Awesome.
Completely changed it, but it's already charting, so it's doing nicely for me. And I'm, of course, in the studio doing my 36th solo album because that's what I do.
No, best of luck. Hopefully we'll see you in the UK for another tour at some point.
Oh yeah,
maybe.
I hope so. I just came off of 3 days. I just played Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the road for the first time since the pandemic. It was so great.
I know.
To get on the stage and
yeah,
play
I'm
live
sure.
for
I'm
people.
sure.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Talking about getting
Fabulous.
back into live venues, Lift Off, our first festival of the circuit, because we're in 12 cities around the world, is Berlin,
Right.
and we're there next week, and I just cannot wait. It's been 2 years since we've been able to host a
I
proper
love
event.
Berlin. Berlin is such a fun town.
It is such a fun city.
Yeah.
I'm sure you
we-
have loads of crazy stories of what's gone on in Berlin.
Oh yeah, on the Fürstendamm, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it too.
What about you, Gary? Was there anything else in the pipeline? Any more documentaries sitting in your mind at all?
It just sort of happen. I don't really plan on the next project,
Sure.
but it just comes up, and the next thing I know, I'm doing another one. So,
He is actually being featured as the featured article in Hatchby Living magazine in March or April, I think. So getting
Nice.
a little local publicity there.
Well,
Awesome.
that will also go very well in the publicity for the film. So just collect everything and see what happens when you are
absolutely.
talking.
Yeah.
And Liftoff will be in Los Angeles in September, I believe. So
Oh.
if the world stays open, it would be amazing to come and support you and come and see whatever you're doing at that time.
Okay. I look
Yes,
forward to meeting you all
absolutely.
in person. That would be great fun.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. We host every year at Raleigh Studios in West Hollywood.
Oh,
sure,
yeah.
sure, right
Yeah.
across from Paramount.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I was on Star Trek for 5.5 years, so I was
Yeah.
going to Paramount a lot. You know?
They have so we use the Chaplin Theatre, which is inside Raleigh.
Right.
Fantastic cinema location.
Yeah. It's a good studio.
Nice studio. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, well, I think as Mohammed is here, we should probably say hi and get a little bit from Mohammed. But what we can do is I'll swap the films over now. So we'll have a look at Download My Heart and we'll find out a little bit more from Mohammed. And then we can open it back up, I think would be nice. So I'm just going to switch over the films. There we go. So that is now starting in a moment. I'm just going to lower that down. And there we go. So that should be starting any second your side. But Mohammed, welcome. Thank you,
ladies and gentlemen.
No, it's amazing that you've managed to join us on the call. So tell us a little bit more about Download My Heart and where the inspiration came from.
Yeah, call me Mo, please. I go by that name.
Sure.
to the gentleman when he was talking about Apple. I also have a relationship with Apple. My first life was as an inventor. I developed digital and satellite technology for war journalists to cover a war by themselves, with just a kind of briefcase unit where they could download the analog video, digitize it, edit it into a minute clip, compress it, and then unfurl a 50-centimeter umbrella and upload it to New York or London over an hour and a half, from anywhere in the world to anywhere. So I got 9 U.S. patents for that, and an Emmy nomination, the '93 NAB show, for the most amazing technology, and I licensed Apple for all my 9 patents: AT&T, Hughes, EchoStar, DirecTV, etc. So fast forward to so that I developed, I come from technology, and then I want to get into digital culture. So I started by writing and producing digital songs, which are released by Ingrooves, the digital content arm of Universal Music Group. And it led to the song "Download My Heart," which BBC picked up, and then I decided to do the world's first app song, so that I developed the song further and called it "Download My Heart" in New York, and another one, "Download My Heart" in London. So on both sides, straddling the Atlantic. We've had 3 film festivals pick up "Download My Heart" in New York, and 4 film festivals pick up "Download My Heart" in London. So "Download My Heart" is modern speak for "I Love You." The Beatles came, when they came, we feel that, that generally institutions used to lead the people, and now the people lead the institutions. And that includes the record industry and the film industry and everyone else. And so we decide to reflect, express and celebrate the present in our new world that we live in, including its language. So when the Beatles came, they said, "Why are we don't want to sing like yesterday. We don't want yesterday's music. We don't want yesterday's language, and we don't want yesterday's images. We'll sing like we sing." And 63 turn downs later, they broke it open and everything changed overnight. So we think that the world is changing in the same way, especially post-COVID. I say that the hardware is only as good as the operating software, and now we're involved in the operating software. In my artwork, I collaborate with Facebook headquarters in London and Twitter headquarters in London on digital and on social media enabling art, and "Download My Heart" in London is an expression of it. So it's like "I Love New York" was 40 years ago. It's an updated version.
Wow.
So it's an app. It's an app song. It can apply to all the major cities. I'll do LA next, and I'm working on "Download My Heart" in the metaverse now.
Oh wow. Okay. You are so advanced in technology. It is unbelievable. If you're already planning on doing the metaverse, the Web 2.0 music video, that is insane. I was watching a YouTube stream the other day, and it was telling us about how new companies, and how, if you are creative in any sense, should look about creating it for the world that we live in now, but also how can you develop that for what is coming, and that is the metaverse. So for those who don't know, the metaverse is the online world where you can create your avatar and you can live in that world. I would love to see your version of "Download My Heart" in the metaverse. How far along are you?
Coming soon.
Coming soon.
Yeah, we'll release the song first in like 3 weeks from now. Then we'll do the music video.
Who wrote the song?
I did.
Oh. So you do it all?
I mean, I do all. Yeah, I produce. I write all the songs. Again, I use today's language and I'm not interested in any. I'm interested only in today's language. I'm only interested in fast songs because I think life is faster than most songs, and so we're out of sync. and that all life is speeded up. We're much more digital friendly than we think we are. I mean, if four people call a restaurant and book a table, when they arrive there, the maitre d' after half an hour has to order them to put away their phones because none of them are talking to each other. So, or even looking at each other. So we're very, digitally advanced. I mean, we've already acculturated ourselves to digital technology and digital culture without even knowing it. And I think, COVID burned the past down. So now there's no way home. And you're in it whether you're ready or not.
Very true. I do think that COVID did speed up the way that society is now looking at the work culture and giving people a little bit more freedom to work from home or whatever they may want to do in their spare time. So I do think you're right.
They're already empowered with this. I mean,
Yeah, really, that
they're
phone is
empowered.
is Doctor Who's
Right.
screwdriver. You know.
Yeah, exactly. A robot, our robot, but their drone in our lives.
Hmm.
So it's a double-edged sword, as you say.
Definitely is. This is super interesting hearing your perspective on this. But from a filmmaker's point of view, there was a few questions that we had when we were watching your project, and for the filmmakers that will be watching this stream at a later date. I would just like to get an understanding of how you managed to shoot around London. Did you get permits, or did you kind of go guerrilla style, grab the camera and go?
We shot till we were stopped. At any one time, it's all guerrilla. It's all guerrilla shooting. Um, you know, you just run. I mean, you should have a car. I mean, we had a van with a driver, coffee, tea, sandwiches, and we just went right across London until we were, pushed away, by whoever was said, "Don't you know that you need a permit?" No, we don't. We didn't know. Sorry. By that time we shot everything we needed and we were off to the next landmark. Um, so that's the only way, and it gives it an immediacy and a kind of buzz that you wouldn't get in a very set piece. We shot in the studios too, but to really, well, to really get to really get a good excitement out of it, you got to shoot on location, and in our case, with no problem in New York either, or LA.
That is very risky, I must say, but definitely rewarding. Seeing all of those London landmarks, it just is almost impossible if you're going to go through the permits unless you have very, very deep pockets.
And it all looked really good as
looked
well.
great,
Just
yeah.
like there were some nice time lapses next to the Thames and everything. What sort of cameras were you working with? I think I saw some drone shots. I can't remember exactly.
I mean, we use a variety of cameras, all at 4K, and we re- we just wanted to shoot as much as possible, wherever possible until the light gave out, and if it did, technology to us was second to just getting interesting places at interesting times, with people who are excited by doing it. That we wanted to keep that momentum going, and all the technology was secondary. It's in the editing room that you could use the technology that you need.
So apart
Rather
from
than in the gathering.
So apart from Download My Heart in Los Angeles and the Metaverse, which is coming, what else are you working on right now? Are you working on any other music apps or music videos, or are you moving into
no. I mean, I'll concentrate on Download My Heart as an app song with more cities. So we invite the cities of the world to work with it. We invite any collaboration. Um, there are more cities to go through, and to update my altogether each alone, for which I got third place in your liftoff in March. Altogether each alone, which is a reflection of our position in the internet, altogether yet each alone. Um, and that was a COVID awareness song. And that you should trust uh, um, facts, um, faith, um, uh, facts. Faith has no facts. Faith has no facts, and facts don't need faith because they're facts. So it was structured around that, and to show people that it's we're under an invasion, and you should study, do some homework. Your high school biology is enough to give you some basis of for decisions you're going to make about your own life and those and the lives of people around you. And that was we'll update that and re-release it, and we gave it the soundtrack. What?
I said high school biology. That's
Yeah, I
that's
mean, if
that's
you,
like one semester. I don't know.
I mean, even I mean, just basic biology about you know about viruses and just the basics of how they come into being and what they do and what they are like and why they're here and why we are here with them.
Uh,
So, apart from world domination through music apps and everything else, is is My Heart playing in any more festivals, or is it now coming to the end of the festival
Yeah,
circuit
there's
for the London one?
we have given it out, and they still keep picking it up. We've had 13 film festivals take these three films in 11 months. Um, and they just keep taking because it it's always a joyful movie in a way, and it's direct and inclusive, and it celebrates the city that it is about, and London is a city that should be celebrated, because
London's a
it's
great city.
so it's done so much, and it's not perfect, like any city in the world is not perfect, but it tries hard to do things, to do new things, and to understand the new world, and come forward, and it should be celebrated in a song, which I have done.
Just an idea and a way that maybe you could give the film a life after the festival circuit and outside of your app world. Have you thought about contacting the embassies and tourist bodies in each of those countries where you would like to create Download My Heart in, to see if there's any way that they can fund it?
We have given it to the Tourist Board of New York. We're waiting for an answer, and we, through your good offices, you can give it to the Tourist Board of London. We are they are welcome to it, to use it. I mean,
For countries that are really pushing tourism's coming in, it
Yeah.
might be a really unusual and quite a quirky way to get more eyes on their countries. So I think there's definitely something you can do there. Amazing. Gary, James, do you have any questions for Mo?
No, I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I also thought it's clever to because it's so inclusive. You can download My Heart in Egypt, download My Heart in
exactly.
Slovenia. I mean,
It's a universal emotion.
Yeah, so very clever, very inclusive.
Thank you.
And then if I could just reverse the question, Mo, do you have anything that you would like to say to Gary or James listening in to what they were saying about their project?
I think what you're doing is great. I mean, you're following, as the gentleman said, your passion is an important engine, and that you will, if you follow it and you are observant, you also have to bring observation to it, clear observation. Then the two together will take you to where you're going.
Yeah. Yeah,
It will give you the tact.
35
It will, by definition, there is no roadmap for you because you're doing something new. So all you can bring to the table with it is a clear mind of observation and passion, and that will show you the way. And as you said, you will make money from it by definition, because you will succeed. people gravitate to that and want it for themselves and consume it. And now with this, my God, you have the whole world. As you said, you don't need a record company, you don't need an agent, you don't need anything anymore. It's people have been empowered. We've all been empowered. We can all create and consume. It's a whole new world, and it's just
Yeah.
beginning.
The downside is that there used to be filters and now there are none. So there are 10 million artists and 10 million films, and finding the gems amidst the dust is not as easy as it once was.
Well, that's our it's our job as consumers, is it not? You pick and choose the vegetables in the supermarket. You pick and choose what supermarket you want to go to.
But the supermarket
That's
is not 17 square miles, it's I mean,
right.
who's to
Okay.
say?
It's fragmented and fractured now. The world was the creative world was vertical before. So it was vertical because of scarce resources. Now it's flat. It's horizontal. Because the resources are not expensive to create and consume. So it's a whole new paradigm, and a whole new economy and a whole new culture. It's just and it's inevitable that that should have happened. You can't you can't create artificial scarcity for for too long. It gets broken by reality and economics and capitalism, and innovations. So ultimately, it's evolution, and it's good. I mean, it's
I
you can't,
also
whether
I
good or
also
bad, you
agree.
can't stop it.
I agree, because if you're looking at what's happening with the VOD platforms, they are constantly looking for new content, which means that there is more opportunities for filmmakers to get their work
Exactly.
seen. And yes, it might be difficult to get it into the top tier, like Netflix, Amazon, Mubi, or whatever platform that may be. But
Well,
there are so many sub ones that are emerging, giving those opportunities. So for emerging filmmakers, I think it's very exciting.
They're definitely setting a precedent, because I think every single time I hop on my computer, I for somehow or another learn about a new streaming service that's out. Some of them are catered to specific genres and things. It's it's an interesting look at what's to come for this industry going forward.
But there is a lot of content out there.
Lots and lots.
Across the board.
Sometimes you have to start digging.
Yes, it can be overwhelming, but hopefully the cream continues to rise to the top.
Exactly.
I really hope so. And I think that might be a really nice place to end this call, with that magnificent quote of letting the cream rise to the top. And
Yes,
and
yeah.
here we're sitting with two
Very
of
poetic,
three
yeah.
amazing creatives that have joined us on today's call. So there you go. Thank you guys so much for joining
Thank
us.
you.
I'd like to wish you
Likewise, nice to meet you, my gentlemen.
I'd
Thank
like to
you.
wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Gary and James, let us know when you are screening next. Mo, likewise, let us know what is happening
you.
with your project. We love following your journeys. Yes,
Yes,
we will let you know.
we'll come and say hi.
It'll be an honor and a pleasure.
Thanking you.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
Lovely
you.
to have you
Likewise.
all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.